primarily focused around data and the big component of the new Year 11 subject, but also we'll cover things in middle school as well, which is, what do you do with data and how does it fit in terms of your assessments and schooling and everything else. I thought we'd have Stephen kick off with one of his projects, the Learnometer, and just discussing a little bit about what he's found in this space. So, Stephen, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. And just a couple of caveats, really. One is I've got a terrible cold. It's the beginning of term over here, and I live with my grandchildren, so they've brought every time back into the house and all their various tasks. And so if I look like I've got a runny nose and a sore throat, it's because I have. And it pretty much is the middle of the night here, and we're just coming up to midnight. So yeah, if I look a bit jaded for that as well. So I'm pretty much a write-off before we start. The data, we say data, you say data, just could not be more interesting. And how did I get into exploring the Internet of Things and the data that comes out of it? Well, curious enough, through sport. So as well as I'm a professor in Madrid, professor in learning innovation in Madrid, which is pretty cool, really. But it's not just French theatre. And one of the big surprises for me after the Sydney Olympics, really, when Team GB was doing pretty badly, and not as bad as we'd done in Atlanta. I think in Atlanta we got one gold medal, rubbish. Rowing, where, Britain is very good at sports where you sit down, sailing. We're kind of good at rowing and sailing and Formula One and so on, but if you stand up, we're not so good. But our Olympic squad was clearly struggling because we were training our athletes in the way we used to do. And most of our coaches had come out of the armed services, and they kind of said to their athletes, look, if this happens, then you do this, and if this happens, then you do that. Those conditions of these responses, it's all very, very mechanistic. And typically, of course, when you turn up to the Olympics after 4 years, people arrive that you haven't seen, you didn't know about. I've been in Africa last week, and the Africans kind of redefined distance running with whole new approaches to training, not all of which involved illegal drugs, and really turned around the sport. So our guys needed to be able to respond really quickly to the new things that are coming along. And the new things that are coming along, of course, are always unexpected. You face your students all face the certainty of uncertainty, the constancy of change. These are right at the heart of their future. So how do we prepare them for that future? And in sport, it was really Dave Brailsford in the cycling team who really got to me, because he just obsessed by the marginal gains that you can make, the aggregation really of marginal gains, and all the little tiny details that add up to making better athletes. I mean, the British cycling team are so obsessed by detail that they even fly in, for example, every meeting they go to, they take their own pillows. They've done research on what pillows their athletes sleep best on, and they take them with them, whatever hotel they're in, they get out the pillows and they get out just extraordinary. Now, when we come back into our classrooms, we started looking at the marginal gains that were available, and it was pretty shocking to me, frankly. First thing we did was to start measuring the physical environment. I do a lot of work, as you know. I build schools and universities all around the world. I design learning spaces. I'm seeing a whole bunch of folks from the Indian government tomorrow. I see African government last week, and everybody's crazy about learning, but the whole thing is really simple, and you know, it's staggeringly complex. I mean, you'll know if you're still teaching in the classroom, you'll know that even on a windy day, kids behave differently to a gentle day. You know, so we started measuring all this stuff, and we built these little learnometer boxes. These little, you can find out about this from learnometer.net. You know, it's fairly obviously, and we measured the temperature, the sound rhythms. We measured the CO2. We measured the air pollution, the air pressure. We measured humidity. We just measured every damn thing we could and put them all in a little box. This has been a big research project. We're about the end of the third year now. It's sponsored by GIS, which is a big research funding agency over here in the UK. And when we started looking at the data, it was staggering. For example, I've been into 57, I think now, examination rooms in the last 19 months. And I haven't been into one room that wasn't damaging the children's prospects. Every single exam room I went into, I could give the kids somewhere between 1.5% and 3% better marks just by sorting the room out. Now, you think how hard you work to turn your C's into D's, or to get that little tiny gain, you know, on a mark that's going to make a difference to a kid's university or a kid's high school place or a kid's subject choice. You know, those marks were just sitting on the table for free, and it was pretty scary. I'll give you some concrete examples. When you're invigilating an exam or a test, you're sitting there at the front as a teacher, you get pretty heavy-eyed pretty quick. You know, it's famously hard to stay awake in an exam invigilation, and you do what all teachers do, you get up and you walk around the room. And the reason you're falling asleep is because the room is ponding with CO2. CO2 is a heavy gas. Every student in the room, well, hopefully is still breathing before the exam ends, you know. And the gas just slowly fills up, like a swimming pool filling up, and you're sitting at the front, and eventually you're drowning in the emissions of the kids, you know. And you get up, you head kids out of the room, you walk around, and you make a bit of circulation. They can't. And we're finding examination rooms with CO2 levels between 5,000 and 7,000 parts per million, and we know that concentration starts to break down at 2,200 parts per million. So it's 3 times the level when you're already struggling to concentrate. And light levels, even more terrifying, really, because we go into the room. You know, the room you're in, you've got really, really good light behind you, lovely big wall of light there. But over where I am, it's a little bit darker, and you know, for best cognitive process, you're looking at 500 lux or better. I'm building schools and universities to 750, and the last 2 university buildings we've done have been over 1,000. And yet most examination rooms I go into, there are places in the room, not usually the whole room, but places of the room that are under 200 lux, and kids sitting there are going to do, you know, a percentage worse than kids sitting in brighter light in another part of the room. And of course, you know, you've given them a seating plan. You've said to this kid, you've got to sit over there and do worse, and you've got to sit over there and do better, and it's just not a level playing field. And that's before we start on all the other data. Now, one of the really interesting things about collecting data in this way is it's a fabulous project for kids, because running around the school measuring, and you can do this at the simplest level. You can do this with your phone. You know, if you let me just call up on here. There are loads and loads of free light meter packages. This one is in fact impressively called light meter. So you just kind of run it, and you press the button. It tells you what the light level is. Well, it's the middle of the night here, so we're running at 86 lux, which is way too low for learning. And you can see I'm pretty gloomy. If I turn this light on here and flood the room with a bit more light, I still look slightly ghostly in that room. If I change it, even that only takes us up to 271 lux. So I'll turn that off. It's a bit sudden. I've been asleep. And that's about half the level you need for best cognitive processes. So there are other bits of this. So you get your kids with a light meter on their phone and with a decibel meter. By the way, with sound, you're shooting for probably under 72 decibels, and you think, well, that's quite hard to get kids to be that quiet. But it's really not. You just take an old tablet, you stick it up on the wall, and you just say to the kids, look, try and keep it out of the orange level, and then a lot of these decibel meters, I think there's about 73 decibel meters in the Apple App Store, you just say, just try and keep it in the orange bit, don't go to the red bit, and you don't have to say anything to them. You give them the data, they respond. So it's a great project to have the kids running around the school, measuring every room for light, for sound, for temperature, for CO2, your science department for sure would have a CO2 meter, and get them to hypothesize at the beginning which is the best room for learning, and then get them to run around and test it. Heppell would have seen this on Twitter, but one of our learnometer schools in Dubai, and Dubai is a funny old place for environment. You can imagine 55 degrees outside, air conditioning inside, it's so cold you have to wear a jumper, But they realised that they were recirculating the air to chill it rather than bringing in hot air and sending it out, which would be very expensive. And the net result of that was that the CO2 levels were really very high in the school. So one of the teachers there, who's doing this, by the way, as a PhD project, she thought, right, we need some plants in the room to reduce the carbon dioxide and increase the oxygen. Plants are pretty good at that. She wrote off to NASA, and the week before last I was talking to the NASA scientist that she contacted, and she said, hey, you guys, when you're thinking of terraforming Mars, you must have somebody somewhere that's measuring what are the best plants for turning CO2 into oxygen. They said, yeah, we've got a whole team looking at that, and you want ferns, and you want, they gave her a list of plants, and then she covered the wall with these plants. I mean, did a pretty neat job. Nothing sophisticated. This wasn't hydroponics, or it was just lots of flower pots on the wall in wire frames and a little micro irrigation thing running between them. And the staggering thing was that CO2 went down a lot, but so did the percentage of ADHD kids. So they had a lot of kids who had an attention deficit, and they were, treating the kids. It turned out it wasn't the kids at all, it was the room. And they've just made over 126 of their classrooms in Dubai. And it's pretty remarkable stuff, So I guess the short version of this, and I'm going to take some questions because I'm just looking at a boring picture in the middle of the night, But the short version of this was that when we started collecting data, what it did was reveal to us how little we knew about the physical conditions and the learning in our school. But just to give you some sense of the other things we're looking at now, we've got a classroom where we're looking at eye contact, where the kids look during the lesson. Some clever little technology that at the end of the lesson you can see where all their eyes were looking. It's quite interesting, and very rarely you all the board or whatever, if you're still doing a teacher's desk front, we're looking at food. Seems to be quite remarkable that there's no good research about what food to eat for an examination. I mean, we know that having a breakfast better than having a breakfast. What should you eat for breakfast? Would it be a whole of wheat bake with raspberries, or would it be porridge, or maybe some fish or egg? You could hypothesize, but actually the work hasn't been done, so we started our work in Spain. And by the way, at the moment it's looking like dried mango with a bit of chocolate is about as good as it gets. So none of this about well-being, you know.
And no wheat bix in the morning then, Stephen?
No, because it takes too long to digest, because
I'm in trouble.
the blood goes out of the brain and it's not to digest the wheat bix, you know, because it's pretty chunky old stuff, you know, so no.
Look, you've started us off, and I know personally your comment around the CO2 emissions makes me wonder, you know, perhaps all those staff meetings now I have excuses where I can just say, look, there's a CO2 increase.
I've been taking a little thermometer into a lot of companies lately because they're obsessed by it, you know, and they say the same thing. They say we have these really boring meetings, everybody falls asleep.
Yes.
And I say, okay, well, paint the walls, get the ventilation in, put in some LED lights, and not only will everybody stay awake, but you'll have better ideas, and the good people will stay in the company. And you know, that's what happens. That's absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we've got time for just a couple of questions before, and I wish I could broadcast it live, but I'll record the next keynote speakers, the Growing Foundation Data organisation. But just for, has anyone got any questions for Stephen? Just any points of wonder or comments from what he's discussed? It could be from even, I guess, from the British Olympics all the way through to what you heard about some things on data. So is anyone?
I'm working with the England rugby squad at the moment, so 2019, watch out, is all I'm saying.
No chance, no chance. Any questions for Stephen? I could see a couple of notes being slammed down, so I think Leo's.
All the data is actually shared with students, so it's not just that the teachers are using the data and making decisions, so it's actually taking students into account.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. That's a really key distinction, and I think we've learned from the health service, perhaps more than anyone, that when you give your data to the students, to the patients, they respond to it in a way that's much better. You know, 10 years ago, you'd have gone to see the doctor and he said, well, mate, you're dying, you know. Now you go to see him and you've got a whole lot of data about your health, your pulse rate, your weight, your BMI. You know, you have a conversation with him where you've already started, some sort of intervention in your own health. And it turns out to be the same with kids, you know, learn and let is obviously the way forward. But I would give you a word of caution about this. When you were in college, they would probably told you that you have two moving variables. You can't say much about it unless you can point to a causal relationship. You know, either the money supply changes and inflation changes. You cue an argument about causality. With big data and giving data to people, your point saying is, actually, we haven't a clue why this bit of data and this bit of data map, but we know that if this moves, this will happen. Nice example in Africa was they were worried about, I think it was on the west coast, they were worried about insurgents, you know, terrorists attacking villages, and they realised that before each village was attacked, the sales of SIM cards went up. And nobody could work out why the sales of SIM cards were such a clear marker for imminent attack by militant extremists. But it didn't matter because when the sales of SIM cards went up, they sent in the army and they just got on with protecting folk, and they were there when the bad guys came up, you know. And it turned out, by the way, that what happened was people used to feel nervous. They could feel something was in a bit tense. So they bought a lot of SIM cards because that was very liquid currency. They could, if they had to flee, they could pay for things with SIM cards, but they couldn't pay for things with currency. So it turned out there was a reason, but way before they found the reason, they could already act. And if you're looking to have a bit of fun with their kids, there's a really good website called, if you just Google spurious correlation, search for spurious correlation, those two words. There's a very fun website that spurious correlation, Yeah. There's a website that's just, I can tell you some very funny assemblies in there, but like there's a very tight relationship between the sales of margarine and the rates of divorce in a couple of American states.
That's really spurious correlation. Has anyone found it? If you do, tweet it out on the hashtag CS4HS. Stephen, I'm just conscious of time here, and I really appreciate the fact that it's now probably very close to midnight, and you've stayed up and given us some really great points of wonder to get us started. So I'll send people here the links that you mentioned as well, and really appreciate your time and look forward to next time you're down here in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, last tiny tricky thing, but you'll know how quantum computing is going to be. I mean, because we're in a world not of an on and an off bit, but a world where all that any, you know, where the qubits can be on and on and on and off and off and off and on. You know, the bits can be in multiple states. So where a computer works with just binary maths, you know, lots of switches, a quantum computer does an infinite number. And just to give you a tiny sense of the magnitude of that, you take every supercomputer in the world and give them the task that takes them to complete. You know, all big computers and all the other, you give them a task that takes a year to complete. A quantum computer within our next decade will be doing that task in half a minute. So, you know, here's computing for the supercomputers, one quantum computer completing the task inside a minute. So our ability to process enormous amounts of data and our ability to, you know, to look at everything from the subatomic and molecular behaviour of photons, you know, right the way up through to mass population is going to be huge, and probably the ability to work with that data and the algorithms you need to harness will probably be the most important, most valuable thing your kids will be able to do when they graduate. This or the tweak in the curriculum, this probably is rest of your lives, and it's quantum computers that are going to make that difference, really. So here and now, up, down the dark, now the algorithms, but I'll tell you what, tomorrow's looking extraordinary. So on that thought, I better go.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Really appreciate it. Can we give Stephen a